Do you find yourself in the same cycles of trying to be motivated, losing attention and desire to do something, and then falling back into the same rhythm and patterns of avoidance? This is such a common neurological experience, and we're going to discover right now why it happens and how do we get out of it. Hi, I'm Jennifer Evans with Empowering Wellness Counseling Solutions, and this week we are looking at motivation and change. And we want to look at the neurological components of how do we actually create motivation and change, and how do we make it lasting, and how do we maintain that sense of motivation. And so I want to dive into these 5 principles of change, the key factor framework of change. And that is identity integration, understanding who you are, what your purpose and intention is, and really being intentional and mindful and weaving it through every decision that we make. And then environmental design. Environmental design is this idea that we are creating a surrounding. We're making decisions about our values, and all of our surrounding is really focused on what these decisions are. And then the neurological rewiring. So we have that mastering the inner game. And so knowing that neuroplasticity is a major component of how we make lasting change, we're actually going to rewire the brain, looking at that awareness, acceptance, action framework that I created. And that will create the lasting change to allow us to go the interstate highway of response and positive reinforcement instead of the dirt roads and the old highways and county roads of reaction. And then we're going to look at this idea of systematic or systemic alignment. And systemic alignment says that we're making these conscious decisions to be present and to have that presence with us. And as we do that, it will start to build greater and greater good. And we will actually be able to kind of level up in our funnel system as we are building on this systemic change. And lastly, we're going to be connecting with metacognition. As we monitor our brain, that precognition, kind of why we do the things we do, what we're doing is we are rebalancing our mindset and being able to be more present and purpose-driven. And then we get into the metacognition. Remember that balance. Zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, find a focal point. And as we find that focal point, we set our intention. And as we set our intention, we are building capacity and empowerment. Go back to almost every single video about the negative dynamics. This is all a part of it. And as we're setting an intention, then we go back to balance, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, find a focal point. We empower ourselves, we set a new intention. Cognitive behavior therapy is all about thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. When I have a behavior, creates a thought, which creates a feeling, which encourages a behavior. So this metacognition is directly looking at that premise, really using cognitive behavioral principles to interject one thing. It doesn't matter what we interject. When we interject one thing, we break the cycle. And we have an opportunity to change what those consequences are. Right? So I'm feeling down. I think I'll go shopping. It makes me feel better. I think I'll go shopping. That is a thought. It'll make me feel better. Behavior. I go shopping. I impulse buy. But then I feel empty after I do it. And then I fear that I don't have the money to actually pay for all the purchases that I just made. And so then I become anxious and I ruminate and try to plan, how am I going to make this money? What am I going to return? What am I going to keep? What do I really like? Right? And I keep going back and forth with that, continuing to feel empty. But when we can accept, I feel empty right now. I'm having thoughts of feeling empty. I'm having feelings of feeling empty. I'm having thoughts that I want to go spend money. Even though I don't have a job, that's part of the reason why I feel like I don't have agency. I can then choose opposite action. I'm not going to go spend money. That's what I do. And then I just get anxious. And then I'm constantly trying to sell things off, return things. It's just so stressful. It's so much more stressful than if I were just to be present. The fact that I don't feel good right now. I don't feel like I have a lot of agency. And so what we're doing is identity integration, environmental design, neurological rewiring, systemic alignment, and metacognition monitoring. We are putting it all together to change and master that inner game. So let's get started. Motivation really naturally comes in as a U-shaped pattern. And this U-shaped pattern says that, if it was an inverse bell curve, if you will. So it starts with, we have high motivation and we're so excited. There are problems to be solved. We're starting to find some answers. We feel super motivated. And then as we solve some of the problems, the morale and the motivation goes down. And at the lowest it goes, we feel like there's not much left to do. Like we've kind of done all the great energy absorption tasks. And now we just feel like we're kind of lost. We've answered all the questions, and now what? Now I don't really feel like there's much purpose. I did all this external validation. I got a ton of dopamine feed. And now it's kind of on me to do something about it. Now I actually have to put myself out there. And that's where we start to fall short. It's one thing to check a bunch of boxes and to feel really good that we check those boxes. But when it starts coming to, I have to buy myself, you're going to buy me? I don't think so. No thanks. And that's when we're at the pit, the very bottom of the U, that bell-shaped curve. And then we start getting ideas and thoughts of, well, what if I do this? Right? Avoidance. What if I do this? I was going to own a cleaning company. I don't really like it anymore. Now I think I'm going to, I'm going to do some Etsy. I'm going to make these cute little bracelets and then I get really excited. But what comes with that excitement is investment in the new activity. So you just bought all these cleaning products. You just got the business cards. You did the marketing. You did everything you needed to do to be successful. And then as the motivation goes down, now you still have all this product. You're not doing anything with it. You're saying you're depressed, or you're saying you have ADHD, or you're saying that you're anxious, but truly you're avoiding yourself. You're self-sabotaging. And then you come in and you find a whole new thing that you want to get involved in, which pulls you right back up to high motivation. You spend all the money, you do everything you need to do until it comes to selling yourself. And then you crash on your motivation and you find something new. How many times have we been in this position? We get stuck in these hamster wheels because we don't have the faith to be able to complete the desires and the dreams that we have. I know I've been there. I went from, a city government job. I loved it. I loved being in crisis. I loved doing emergency services. But my husband got transferred. I needed to recreate my career. It was a toxic work environment. It really was a toxic work environment. I was really traumatized from the supervision or the manager in that program. I had to get somewhere else, so I found a cute little nonprofit that I worked with, and I loved it. But again, there was toxic energy that came on. It was time to move on, so I went to government, did state work, and worked for the state of Florida. I loved it. Toxic energy came on. See a pattern here? It's the anxious overachiever, right? I kept seeing the problems and I wanted to fix them. There were people who were so defensive, and all I wanted to do was fix the system. And the defensiveness came in. This threat that I was taking over positions came in, and that was never my intention, but that was the perception. My anxious high achieving directly triggers other people's need to feel as if they are having the agency, the value, the belonging that they have. And so it traumatizes me, and I take on all that negative baggage, right? I think, well, this has to be my fault. Like, what am I doing wrong? And meanwhile, this entire time, I have dreams, I have desires. I don't really want to do this work. I'm just doing this work, and I'm trying to find the value in it. And I do. But ultimately, I'm ignoring what I really want to do, which is to set up my own private practice, to get a bunch of interns, and to start molding the new generation of therapists. That was my ultimate goal, is to build these educational programs and mold people into living happier and healthier lives. One of the logos that I use, I made back in like early 2000s when I first built my business of empowering wellness. And it sat there. It sat there for almost 20 years before I had the nerve to actually do something with it. And so I'd have these ideas, I've got this is going to be my office space, and these are the things I'm going to do, and these are the groups I'm going to offer. I'm so excited. And then it's like, there's things I could do at work, so let me overly commit at work, because this is scary. This is me. I don't know if people are going to buy me. And over and over and over again, jumping on the hamster wheel, thinking that I'm doing something, but I'm going nowhere. I'm going absolutely nowhere. And the desire, the mission, I truly believe that this is a mission given to me, that God has presented this to me. And so it keeps showing up. It keeps showing up because it is my mission, it is my purpose. And in 2022/2023, because it was like literally on January 1st, I said, I'm done. I'm done being on the hamster wheel. It doesn't serve me. I don't take PTO. I don't use the insurance because I have TRICARE for life. So what am I doing? Stressing myself out, making minimum in my salary than what my earning potential is. For what? To not use any of the leave that I have allotted to me? I had over 400 hours of leave I didn't use. It hurts. It still hurts. Like 3 years ago, it still hurts. I didn't use it. I didn't get on the insurance, and I really need it. So what was I doing in a corporate America job when the few things they could offer me I didn't take, and the things I needed from them, they weren't willing to give me. I needed strong leadership, and I wasn't going to get it. And I was going to just burn myself. I was already burning myself out. Let's not kid each other. We all know I burned myself out. I didn't stop when I was supposed to. I didn't stop in October when my private practice was completely full, and I was more than capable of being able to just move over. Of course, we know that I didn't stop. And I'm an anxious high achiever. What do you want from me? I I didn't. I pushed through October. I pushed through November. I pushed through December, making terrible decisions. I'm not saying that I was perfect. I am not. I made bad decisions. I made pressured decisions that I put on myself. And I stuck with something that was not serving me because I was afraid. I was afraid. This was predictable. This is what I knew. I'd wake up at 4 a.m. I'd knock out corporate America job. I'd start logging on at 8 to start seeing my patients. I was insane. I was absolutely running myself to nothing. To absolutely nothing. And meanwhile, I was being fed little drops of information to connect to what my value is, to what my purpose is. And I took a leap of faith, ripped the Band-Aid, took a leap of faith. And I overworked. I'm not going to lie to you. I overworked. I overbooked myself, but I was constant. And then I took a big vacation. We went to Europe for 64 days. It was beautiful. I actually only worked 12-hour weeks while we were in Europe. What a beautiful, I mean, really like high to low, right? High to low. I was penduluming, but I really enjoyed the low of the pendulum. And then I needed to go back into Florida. And we ended up, where one of my retreats are. We bought the property for that retreat. Beautiful beach house, right on the bay in Florida. And then we go overperform again, right? Gotta pay this mortgage. Now we need to get back up to our high. And so do you see the bell curve? Do you see that bell curve, right? High motivation, and then you're like, well, I don't know, this is really good. Like, I could retire. I met my goal. I wanted to retire by age 40, and I semi-retired. I could work about 15 hours a week. I could travel to Europe first class, and I was making enough money to be able to have a quiet, restful, retired life. But I am a hardworking farmer. I am a soldier. I am an athlete. And so it wasn't enough for me, and it wasn't serving my mission. And so yes, I'm at the top, and I'm staying at the top of the bell curve. I'm realizing now where my balance is, because I was given and blessed with this knowledge. I was given this insight, and I've used it not only for myself, but I use it for hundreds of clients to help them break through their own barriers and be able to find what works for them to live happier, healthier, more purpose-driven lives. And I can help you too. And so, as we look through the inverse bell curve, we can recognize when we're in this valley phase, when we're kind of aching to get something more. And then what we want to do when we're in this valley phase is take a deep breath, set an intention, find your balance and empowerment, and take one step towards whatever is discomforting. Connect to it. Name your thought, name your feeling, name your behavior. And then look at it, challenge it, counter it, opposite action. And figure out how do you get back to the motivation you had and keep it going versus finding new motivation and changing your trajectory. And so, how can we do this? Well, some practical techniques to be able to minimize time spent in these valley phases of motivation is to stay intentional. be present, be non-judgmental, be purposeful, acknowledge that you are here, and then choose what you want to do with it. I am having feelings of doubt. I am having feelings of fear. I choose to do one thing. There's your exposure hierarchy. I choose to do a 6. Like rip the Band-Aid, do a 6. Choose to do a 4. Choose to do a 3 every single day. And what happens is as we're doing this, we're moving out of that. Right now we're in the temporal. We're in the amygdala. And we're making reactionary decisions, causing more chaos. What we want to do is as we ground, we come into prefrontal cortex. And there we have executive function that we can decipher through what we want to do. Quick way to jump into executive function. 1 + 1 is 2. 2 + 2 is 4. 3 + 3 is 6. It's the best way to get into executive function. And so as we are breaking things down into smaller steps, because then you're getting the dopamine pool, we're finding what our vision is, what our purpose is, what our goals are, and we're doing one thing a day, we are starting to build that flow state. And as we build that flow state, we start to understand how things are serving us. We keep asking, does this serve me? Does this serve my purpose? And if it doesn't, it's easy to just send it down the river and let it go. And if it does, then hold on to it. Keep it. And find what you want to do with it. And the neuroscience behind this is 80% of change initiatives will fail. So in order to be in the successful 20%, we have to be in a response mindset. And we're in a response mindset when we are in prefrontal cortex. But as long as you are in the amygdala, the wandering mind will happen. Cognitive bias will happen. You will sit there to make charged emotional decisions that do not serve you and that are reactionary, only causing more and more suffering. But when you can have faith and ground and look over everything, you can build your village. You can be the mayor of your own village on the bank of value, strength building. And one of the reasons we get into these experiences is because of this idea of the family roles. And the family roles, childhood roles that we take on is directly related to the roles we'll take on as adults. And we can be the mascot, the rebel, the invisible one, or the peacemaker. The invisible one being the lost child, the peacemaker. So when you're having interactions and you find yourself at that low point, think about, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, find a focal point. What role am I serving in this? And is this a common role that I actually serve all the time? And if it is a common role that you are serving all the time, then what do you want to do with that? Does that role serve you or not? And I'll have an article on my Substack this week, so go check it out. And it will go through what those common roles are and kind of what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And then how do you pivot and start taking on all the roles? Because again, identity integration is a part of this. And as we find what our identity is and we integrate it with a greater construct of these collective intelligence, then now we're finding balance and flow, that we're not so curated and typecasted, but that we have greater bandwidth and breadth in what we're capable of doing. And as we find that capacity, remember the negative cycle. More capacity means positive flow state, more motivation, more value. It makes us want to do more things. So the more that we zoom out, the more that we take on these broad understandings and pull into these things, the better it's going to be for us to be able to be more purpose-driven and actually follow through with the things that we want to do. And so role flexibility, some creative, concrete, practical strategies for role flexibility is to have these zoom out moments, to be able to be purposeful, to go to the article to say, what are my strengths, what are my barriers, and what are my change models? And then pull on some of the characteristics from other models. Be very intentional to pull on characteristics from other models so that you don't feel stuck in this one role. And that takes me to kind of that funnel challenge and the change funnel. A couple weeks ago, I talked about the funnel of precognition, of kind of the sense of awareness, and then we start to have kind of this change model, and we really get into the positive flow states. And each one of those has an output. And so often we come in and we just kind of circle at the top of the tornado or the funnel and we just zoom out. And we feel really incapable, we feel low motivation, we don't feel very valued, and we just kind of flip in, flip out, flip in, flip out. And so to find purpose, change, and motivation, find that as an output, not just a flip out. So if you're coming in at precognition, the anxiety is taking over and you're just shoulda, coulda, and what if, then your output is going to be find a purpose and ground in the here and now. Just ground. All you need to do is ground in the here and now. And as you ground in the here and now, then now you're coming into the next piece. And as we are in kind of this negative loop, we're finding awareness, right? And as we find awareness, then our purpose is to label. Just name what it is. What are we doing right now? And that'll be our output. I'm just labeling it without judgment, and I'm out. And then I come back in, I ground without judgment. I'm having distress, I'm not sure what it is. I find my awareness. Now, I ground, I find my awareness. And now I'm starting to find a few changes. I'm starting to accept, right? As I keep going on the output of this is where I am, I'm labeling it, I'm slowly, implicitly accepting that this is the way it is. And as I slowly, implicitly accept it, and I'm coming back in with the sense of acceptance so I can start to find an actual radical acceptance statement, positive, valid data points or positive affirmations. And as I'm doing that, then I can then find my actions. My output is action. I'm here, I am aware, and now this is what I'm going to do as a result. Choose one thing. I choose to just sit with it and be present with it. I choose to find an opposite action. I choose to counter any irrational thought. I choose to challenge or reframe my negative thinking. Then we get back in. As we get back in and we're starting to change the brain, we're starting to build that highway, we eventually get into a positive flow state. We just naturally jump through the funnel and we are building momentum of positive flow state. We are using awareness, acceptance, action as our outputs, and it is pulling us back in stronger and more capable with more value and more motivation to want to do more. We are in it, but it's all good. It feels really good. It's high motivation. It keeps us at the top. It doesn't allow us to dip down. We stay at the top and we own our role, our purpose, our identity, our mission. And we stay connected to that mission. And we keep making decisions that are related to that mission. And if this is something that you want and this connects with you, then go and click and get a free 15-minute wellness insight and begin your journey to living a happier, healthier, more purpose-driven life. I am Jennifer Evans with Empowering Wellness Counseling Solutions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching my video today. If you like it, please share it with somebody. We are all stuck in these loops, and it's important for people to understand that you are not alone, that there's no shame in this game, and that this is a predictable behavior we expect because of how the brain works. And if you like the idea of knowing that you are part of the majority, not the minority, if you want to know more about the brain, how to help with social and emotional intelligence, how to understand how it is to calm down from being an anxious high achiever, then please subscribe and stay connected to my feed. I've got tons of videos that go through the neurological process of trying to retrain the brain for a response reaction and letting go of this 95% of decision making that is implicitly driven and reactionary. And for my couples out there, I'm really excited to click on the link right now and be able to get and sign up for, we're opening up this week, our Couples Master Class. We have asynchronous learning, that is you going in on your own time with your partner, no diagnoses, no records, treatment plans, no notes, nothing. It's you and your partner learning the foundational key principles to what builds a happier and healthier self. And the whole intention, your 27 lessons broken down into little two-minute bites, is to write the next chapter in your love story. So go in, sign up, subscribe. I've got a lot more in store for you. So go in, sign up, subscribe. I've got a lot more in store for you.